What's up, everybody? Mike Caluzzi here, host of Pro Tips to Grow Your Biz. I'm a business coach, entrepreneur, and attorney who work with service-based professionals and entrepreneurs who are looking to eliminate overwhelm and frustration so they can grow their business with clarity and confidence. You can find me at mikecaluzzi.com. That's COLUZZI, or send me an email at mike@mikecaluzzi.com so we can schedule a free consult. So I host this podcast and bring on entrepreneurs and business owners and consultants from all over the world, from all different walks of life, so they can provide you with some insight and value that will hopefully help you in your business. And today I am really happy to have Matt Ward as my guest on today's podcast. Matt is an entrepreneur in multiple areas. He recently sold his digital marketing agency inConcert Web Solution back in 2018. And he now focuses on helping service-based businesses to get more word of mouth referrals. He has a book, More Word of Mouth Referrals, Lifelong Customers and Raving Fans, which there you go. He'll give you a nice little plug. He'll tell you exactly where you can find that as well, which focuses on building stronger relationships and how you can use that to connect with others. He has another book coming out or coming soon. It's called The Hi-Fi Effect. There we go. How to do business with people who bring you joy, which I love that. I love that title. You can find Matt at mattwardspeaks.com on his website, or on Instagram and YouTube at Matt Ward Speaks, or on Facebook at Breakthrough Champion. So you guys will have those links on the links here of the show, so you can kind of go to those things and check Matt out. So I want to say welcome to the show, Matt.
Wow, it sounds like you described somebody that's not me. That's a whole lot of accolades, and I don't know how I slipped through the cracks and made it on the show. But thanks for having me, Mike.
Well, you know what, man? What I love is I love that, people who are just self-motivated, inspired entrepreneurs out there doing it on their own. You're another proven example of people who can do it, outside the norms of large
it's definitely
corporate
outside
culture.
the norm. I don't have a college degree. I went after I graduated high school. I went to college for 1 semester for hotel restaurant management, and I dropped out when I failed my final, which was broccoli and cheese sauce class. And I am a horrible cook, which is why I eat a lot of pizza. And that's how I got.
Pizza's
that's how
good.
I got big.
Although you're going to be relocating, and you spend in town in Florida, so Florida is not known for its pizza. Although I know where I live down in Sarasota, there is actually a few good pizza places.
Here's the thing about Florida: because it's a hodgepodge of people, you get Chicago pizza,
right?
You get New York pizza, you get New England pizza. You get crap pizza. People think they can make good pizza, and it's crap pizza.
That's true, man.
But I will miss the pizza down the street from my old house in Massachusetts. A little local establishment created the Big Mac pizza. Whoa. And it's exactly what you think it is.
Holy mackerel.
It's a heart attack on a slice of pizza.
Oh, that's great. I came here from Jersey. I'm now in Sarasota, I think I mentioned to you. So, but of course, we're sandwiched in between Philly and New York. But the best pizza I ever had, in my opinion, is Di Lorenzo's Pizza in Trenton, New Jersey. Well, now it's in Robbinsville, New Jersey. And Dave Portnoy gave it, I think, like a 9.4 on his pizza rating scale. I mean, it's phenomenal pizza. So I do miss that. But I'm going back tomorrow to Jersey for about a week, so maybe I'll get a chance.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you always grab when you go back. You always grab the foods you like. When I get back to New England, I often drive about an hour and a half just to get a roast beef sandwich from this place called the Beef Barn in North Smithfield, Rhode Island. It's so good. It's amazing, it's fresh, and it's like a $4 sandwich. It's not even expensive. So, but it's just amazing.
So as you mentioned, like, you didn't go to college, you were a self-taught guy. So give us a little bit of a flavor as far as, that having that kind of, I'm not going to call it rebellious, but a little bit of a person who's thinking outside the box and not following the norm. Tell us a little bit more about, your story and how you put yourself out there to now become, a speaker and a coach and
absolutely,
and obviously successful.
I think a lot of people. I grew up in Hershey, Pennsylvania, Chocolate Town, USA.
Yeah.
Right? So it smells like chocolate. How do you think I got this big? Right. I mean, I gained a pound every day just breathing in that town. Here's the thing though. What most people don't know and understand about Hershey is, yes, he put the chocolate bar on the map, but he and his wife couldn't have kids. And so in 1909, they took their entire fortune, $60 million, and put it away into a trust fund to live in perpetuity and create a school for disadvantaged and orphaned kids. And 11,000 kids have gone through that school. They house 2,500 in that school right now from kindergarten through 12th grade. And they give them all a chance. They do it all privately, tuition free. They have every sport available, every program available. Just they get food, clothing, shelter, all of that. And I know a lot about that because I went to that school.
Wow.
I'm the youngest of 3 boys, the first to graduate high school and the only one not to go to prison. So that school changed my life. And what that school taught me, living in a home, kind of like a dorm, but a home with like 15 other boys, right, roughly my same age, was how to figure out things on my own. So when I dropped out of college, I didn't know what I was going to do. I worked for a pest control company. I drove a courier for a courier service in Washington, D.C. And eventually I relocated to Massachusetts in Labor Day in 97. When I did that, I sold my car on the street of Washington, D.C. for $50. And that's all the money I had in my pocket. And I started over in Massachusetts. And I just worked my way up. I got a job in a mailroom. I moved to their software department in this insurance company, and then ended up in another job and survived a series of layoffs, but ultimately got laid off. While all that was happening, I was volunteering for a youth football organization as a coach. I got on the board and I said, hey, we should get one of these things called a website. They're like, great, run with it. I was like, what do I know about that? So I'm telling somebody at lunch at my job, and she says, well, I'll build you a website for free since it's a nonprofit. I was like, you build websites? And she said, yeah. So Allison Marshall did the website for me. And next thing you know, I had a web company. I didn't know what I was doing. I had a part-time thing. My first paying client was Neshoba Pop Warner. They paid me $500. I bought a template online for like $50. It was a golf template, green and white. That was their colors. I changed the golf tee logo to their logo and gave them a website for $500. And I was like, love it, man. This is great. I could do this all day. I outsourced my first job basically. And so I just did the hustle. I worked a full-time job. Then I coached football. And then I came home at like 9 o'clock and I worked until 3 in the morning, got 3-4 hours of sleep, got up again and did it all again. And I just kept grinding. And ultimately, what that turned into was a part-time, gig for a few years. And then in full-time, January 2005, I took it full-time. And I hired my first employee after that. I started hiring programmers and salespeople and all of this. And in 2018, I sold my company to a guy I met in a networking group for over $1 million.
Good for you, man.
Turned it all around. But it didn't come with trials and tribulations without them, right? 2008, right. The economy crashed.
I was going to say to you, I was just going to ask you, like we all know, like even that, that road, I work a lot with folks who are kind of like service-based professionals, a lot of licensed attorneys and things like that. Yeah. And, people who have have had some of those advanced degrees and kind of had more of a linear projection based upon their, look, no one has a pure linear projection, but when you're working for, when you're not scrapping to make things happen, there is this perception that, if they transition out to become self-employed, that it's going to be analogous to what it was like in those scenarios. And I always tell folks, entrepreneurism is like chaos theory in action. There's things happening multidimensionally from every direction possible. There is no real rhyme or reason. I mean, you have to organize your thoughts, you have to organize your processes, but you have to really be prepared for anything and everything at any given moment. So sure. I'm sure you, with your background and what you was describing, and even the time, like you said, probably, I would venture to say, probably getting up to the point of your sale, there was probably crazy shit going on.
Well, it's so interesting because I went through a divorce back in 2010 and they had to evaluate the business and it wasn't worth any money because 2008 was when the economy crashed.
Right.
And I had to make some very tough decisions. I was in a CEO group and I got some advice there that saved my company. Basically, I had to give everybody a pay cut. If I didn't give them a pay cut, I would have had to cut people. People were lost. I wouldn't have been able to perform the services I had sold. It was a mess. And we made it through by the skin of our teeth, thank goodness, and learned a lot of valuable lessons, cash flow being one of them. But even then, after, sort of post-divorce, I'm living in an apartment in New England that's got oil heat, and I run out of oil twice that winter because I can't afford it. We with business ownership, we look at what people tell us are the great things, but we don't ever see the problems. The high five effect, which you mentioned in the intro, the book I wrote in 2021 that came out in October 2021, I wrote that because I believe that people that leave the corporate world and start their own business, especially service-based professionals, want three things: more money, more time, and more freedom. And they don't get any of those three things in the first 5 years. They don't run their business runs them. The thing you were talking about controlled chaos and chaos all over the place. And that's exactly what's happening. And I interviewed 50 small business owners. And in that process, I discovered one very, very common thing. Every single one of those people I talked to took on red flag clients in the process of interviewing the client. When they were a prospect, before they were a client, they saw red flags, and yet they still signed them on as a client. And there's only one reason why they did it: because they needed money.
Right.
And until we get our business to a predictable amount of recurring revenue every single month, we will never push those bad clients away. Those bad clients steal from you. They might not steal money, but they steal time. They steal your freedom. They steal your thought process. These are the things that bring down a business. And it's amazing to me how much we let people do that to us. The whole boundary conversation that happens in our personal lives never happens in businesses. And the more we control the boundaries of what we're willing to accept. My GM once taught me this, and I'm surprised he's the one that taught me, but he said, you teach people how to treat you. So if you accept certain things and behaviors, they're going to keep doing that. And that goes for your clients. It goes for your business partners. And that's important to remember.
It's like that. It's like that saying, kind of with respect to pain tolerances, so long as you're willing to accept the pain, whoever around you will push those pain points to those points, until you just stand your ground and say, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not putting up with it anymore. And I know for me, because I say I am what they call a recovering people pleaser type, looking always to how you can help people, how you could collaborate, have situations where there's that there is kind of like a higher grounding to which we operate. And the issue is, what I found, it's really challenging to find folks who have invested in themselves enough to recognize patterns that can be really detrimental and destructive to relationships. So when they're really pushed, they don't have the insight or the discipline or the experience or education. But I don't mean formal education, but education as far as understanding how human nature works, how they work, and how to create, I call habit, skills, and mindset associated so that they can continue to operate at the highest level when they're being pushed. And that's really a challenge now, because there are also times where, there is times where, like, look, I work every day with the operation that I don't have to raise my voice. I don't have to kind of draw lines in the sand. I try and look for solutions in every scenario that could be, as positive as possible. But look, there's times that, you got to draw a line, and and it's like, no more. And sometimes you got to go to battle, and it's not fun, but you got to do it, because it's there's no rules. I hate to say it, but I mean, you want to operate at a higher level of rules, but the problem is, it's, unless, to your point, see, my philosophy is very similar to yours. Like, you're saying, hey, work with people who are bringing joy. I talk to people all about that all the time. And the way I equate it is just more along the lines of work with people, who are going to bring out the best in you, and yet you're equally yoked, but it's,
why do we always, it's about surrounding ourselves with just great people. And the more that we do, the more joyful internally we'll be, the more we will bring that to the table. And ultimately that helps us get more referrals in our business. Because if
Yeah.
we're happy and we're happy around people, we're going to smile a lot more. And that's the type of person that people want to refer. They don't want to refer the crabby person. We all know somebody who's always negative Nelly, right? That's the last thing I'm doing is referring that person.
Right. Very true. And I think the thing is too, to your point, relative to, what it is that you're doing. I mean, one of the things I talk and work with clients with is this idea of really, I call it purposeful alignment, establishing and identifying what your core value proposition is, getting very clear on your value proposition. Because if you're not clear on the value proposition and it's really not in alignment with what I call highest and best use, I use that term because I've been in real estate for many, many years in commercial real estate. So, if you're not doing that as a person, the likelihood of you hanging in there long enough to actually see the success that's on the horizon is very rare, because you just burn out or you get frustrated or, something happens that derails you. So I think, to your point, and I'm really interested in learning more about, I mean, I'm sure the hi-fi effect, and how to do business with people who bring you joy. That was a hard earned lesson, I'm sure.
Yeah. There were quite a few clients that I had trouble with. Here's the thing, having not come from money, that story of Hershey, right? And then now having achieved some sense of success, whatever that might be. For me, I don't think I ever saw myself making $1 million in my entire lifetime, because it didn't come from that. My family doesn't come from that. I don't even know what 7 digits is in a lot of ways. The thing that I've discovered a lot about myself since selling the business, there's this process that a lot of people go through when they sell a business, where they might actually go through like a mourning phase where they're like, oh, they regret it or whatever. People always ask me, do you regret selling your business? Absolutely not. I had built it to sell it. And I was happy to sell it to one of my employees. I never regretted it one bit and never had a problem with the sale, because I sold it to someone I trusted and they trusted me. However, when I got into speaking and coaching after that, well, I wasn't originally going to do coaching at all. And then the pandemic hit. And so the pandemic hit, I wasn't on stages anymore. And that's what I really wanted to do, is be on stages and talk to large audiences. And so in 2019, I did 35 gigs all over the country. It was amazing. I loved that life. The travel road warrior life, walking out on stages as the closing keynote. It was amazing. And to watch the impact that people in the audience had, come up to me after and talk to me about the stories, it was awesome. Then the pandemic hit and I'm sitting on Zoom all the time. And I started to get this anxiety. What is going on? I'm a tech guy. I can deal with Zoom. That's not an issue. But what it was I was no longer on stage. And I was back behind a monitor again. And I didn't like the feeling of that. And I kept saying to myself, is it coaching I don't like? No, I like people. Is it the ideas of giving them the ideas of having to work? No, I love that too. I'm an idea guy. So what is it? It was actually my calendar being blocked with all these calls. I'd get up in the morning and see 10 calls, 6 calls. And I'm like, I don't want to do this today. I don't want to do this today. This is not what I want to do. And so what I decided to do was take control of my calendar. And now I'm very, very limited in what I do. If you click on my calendar link, you cannot schedule Mondays or Fridays. You cannot schedule any time after 1 p.m. in the afternoon. Any of those time frames, including weekends, I work by choice only. So if I do something after 1 o'clock, it's by choice. And it's a very distinct choice. As I told somebody who said, oh, you've got it all figured out. You've got the freedom thing figured out. Well, I define joy as freedom. And I define freedom as doing what I want, when I want, where I want, and how I want. And I told this person, D, in a Facebook message, that when she sent this to me, she said, you got it all figured out online. Well, first of all, it took a long time to get there. And second of all, it's not all figured out. And third of all, Freedom is a very distinct choice to not allow people to steal your time.
Right.
Mike, I don't care about money anymore. And it's not because I have it. Yes, I'm comfortable in the sense that I'm not going to be broke tomorrow. Only thing I care about in respect to money is not going back to being poor. So I just need to make $1 more in a month than I had before and not spend down my nest egg, and I'm good.
Right.
I'm totally fine with that. It's the freedom from my calendar that I truly embrace now. And I'm very particular about how I choose to do that. People ask me to speak all the time. I got asked to speak in somewhere in Iowa recently. And I said, what's the fee? And what's your budget? And they said, it's nothing. You get to access to our audience. And I said, no, thank you. No, thank you. That's 3 days of my calendar time to travel there, do all of that. The trade-off isn't there.
Right.
I had a friend reach out to me and ask me to do a contract for them, a relationship building contract, which I'm great at. And they offered me a pretty decent fee for it. And I said, no, thanks. You're going to have to double that in order for me to be motivated to give up my free time.
Right.
And that's the trade-off.
I hear you, man. That's why I know. And yeah, that's why I'm very selective of any type of legal work I do for the very same reasons. And so but with that said though, guys, what I want to do is I just want to just make sure people know again who you are, because oftentimes people are coming in different times of the website. So guys, today we are talking to Matt Ward. Matt is, you can find Matt at mattwardspeaks.com and on Facebook at Breakthrough Champion. Matt is a coach, speaker, and he is an author. He's written 2 books. One, more Word of Mouth Referrals, Lifelong Customers and Raving Fans. And his latest book, released in October of last year, is The High Five Effect and How to Do Business with People Who Bring You Joy. So we've been talking these last few minutes about how Matt how he defines wealth and freedom with respect to his calendar. And I think that is something that so many of us can relate to. And so many of us really aspire to. It's to have the time freedom. And that's something that does take a certain level of confidence, some acceptance with respect to maybe having to give up some old behavioral patterns.
Oh, for sure.
Certain levels of expectations.
Like, something, one thing, people, you've heard this thing before where, and I imagine you even told your clients, is double your fee. And they're like, oh, I can't double my fee, I'm going to lose money. And then they double their fee and they actually make more and have less appointments. Sometimes they even have more appointments, more inquiries, because now they're perceived as the higher end clients.
Yeah.
But when you think about the freedom, when you remove time from your calendar that you will now have personally versus work having that time, people worry that they won't have enough clients to generate enough revenue to allow for you to have that off time.
Well, I think there's a matter of that you have to get comfortable. A person has to get comfortable during those transitional periods, because we're not these conditions to which to really live. I don't care who the autobiography you read, right? I mean, ultimately, the people who we're going to remember are the people who were able to break through a lot of the traditional norms that society kind of drills into our brain with respect to how we define our existence, how we define our value, how we have to kind of stay busy, quote unquote, or an alignment in a parallel track that keeps us having predictable results. It's when you eliminate yourself or remove yourself from that process. And I'm not going to lie. I mean, my wife will tell you there's days where I had to keep it in check. I mean, these are really ingrained habits and thought processes that are, they have built some really strong neural pathways in that brain. All of us, it's a question of how to move forward in spite of. And I think to your point with respect to, doing business with people who bring you joy, I think it also relates to doing things that bring you joy. I mean, I did a
Yeah.
video last week where I talked about solopreneurs, wherein, like you said, and we can all relate to this, that if we do not allocate certain periods of time for us to do things that bring us joy, we will be completely inundated with work constantly. It will attribute burnout, mental fatigue, adrenal fatigue. We won't have levels of creativity. And look, and I'm sure it's like when you're staring at the computer and you have to be creative, and solopreneurs are such, you have to be a utility player. But now we live in a society where things have to be completely niched. There's a lot of dynamic changes that have to go in to each and every day to survive and thrive as a business owner and a solopreneur and or small business person. So,
and think about the mindset too, Mike, that so Thursday, you have 4 hours in the afternoon. Just say that's 4 clients. Friday, you have 4 hours in the afternoon. That's 4 clients. But say you eliminate Friday. What does that do mindset wise for Thursday? Does it really say, oh, well, I lose 4 clients? No, it means I can take on 4 better clients on Thursday and make up for money and revenue that I perhaps am losing from Friday. So if I'm charging $150 an hour, I'm making $600 in an afternoon. Well, maybe I can charge $200 an hour. Oh, nobody will pay that. Watch them.
right.
Put the rate up. Watch them. Watch them. They do it.
So that being the case, who would you say, or who would you say is really an optimal client for you? Who are the people who you feel that you can best serve?
My most perfect client is a web designer, because they hear that I sold a company and they go, they fall into the service-based business categories. The people that need to build relationships to make a sale are my ideal customers. And for me, when I talk to those people, I'm very strategic about who I bring on as a client. I used to not be, but now I'm incredibly strategic. I've been on 4 cruises this year, Mike. This year, it's like we're in month 4. Some people have been on 4 cruises in their lifetime, but when you live in Florida, you can get to a cruise port rather quickly. and the deals are amazing with COVID. So I just get on a cruise ship and I buy the internet package. And then I go, when I'm in port, I spend the day at the beach in St. Martin or St. Kitts or Coco Cay or wherever it is. And I'm like, I still have great clients because my clients get unlimited access to me, but they don't bug me. They understand the value of what they get. And so they reach out and I respond right away when my clients reach out. But I don't have more than 5 clients at any given time. Because I don't need that many. Most of my clients, I tell them that they don't need the number of clients that they're thinking about. They think they need 50 or 100 clients, and service-based businesses often don't need that many. Depends on what type of business. But if you're in a recurring revenue type of business, you don't need that many clients. It's often like if you're a coach, you need like 10 or 20, depending on what your goals are and what you charge.
Right.
But if you're an attorney, you might need a different number because it might not be recurring, but just depends on what service.
That's a whole nother conversation. I mean, I know that I feel like a lot of the attorneys that I kind of work and mentor and it's a big shift for them because there is just preconceived notions that other people have for them. They have preconceived notions onto which they operate. I was on a hearing the other day, and I was, before the judge came on, and I was it was of course Zoom, but whatever. But we're kind of in this little chat room, and we're all talking, and I just say to myself, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for giving me the vision to be able to think outside the box, to be able to create another income that I realized that I had to create a residual income. I had to create an income that was not going to be completely tied into trading time for dollars, and it wasn't tied into in my opinion, the traditional legal model that, in my opinion, is very much broken, specifically for small to mid-sized law firms. Now, of course, it's my perspective. Maybe people have differences of opinion, but my experience has been most lawyers are extremely unhappy. And if they could choose another career path, they would, but they don't know how to do it. Or they say themselves they don't know how to do it, or they're not willing to be receptive to be the student too. That's a whole nother conversation that I have with folks a lot of times, because, you know, as lawyers, you know, you're conditioned to be the person who's providing the guidance and providing that. So there's a whole ego identity associated with all that. So it's a very interesting and dynamic thing that we all are living in. And I think because we're in the information age, and I don't know how old you are, but I mean, I'm 52.
I'm 48.
Okay. So we are byproducts of a bygone era to which how business is viewed, right? As far as time, as far as the speed of transactions and things like that, the speed to which business operates. I mean, we came up at a different rate of speed, but because of technology, you know, things have changed, are changing at such a rapid pace. It's really challenging. And I think that there is a lot of people who are longing for a slower pace. And I say, you have to, you know, it's a matter of just realigning how you do things so that you could, you know, feel comfortable in the space that you are, but recognize there's going to be a price you pay for, say, that peace of mind or time freedom, what have you. But you have to be willing to just recognizing that that's okay, and be grateful for, you know, the fact that you could have time freedom, right? I mean, so those are all things that I think it's a journey and it's a process. And I think that's something where, unless and until people who have been really put to the test, or have faced burnout, or have gotten to the point where they had to make some real seismic decisions in their life on, you know, hey, I have to make a shift here or else, you know, that can be a gift, because I know that's what happened with us. I mean, my wife and I back in 2012, you know, from the outside, it was looking great. I had recovered from 2008. I was in the real estate development business, got wiped out in 2008. I had to start all over again. My wife, God bless her, was staying true in a corporate environment, but she was burnt out. So, you know, we looked at each other and we're like, you know what? This isn't worth it. So it's interesting, you know, so these are interesting things that you
and
share.
I think that's the social norms that you were talking about that drive us there. You got to go to college. You got to get the house with the white picket fence. You got to get all that stuff. And ultimately, none of that matters. No. Literally, I'm in the house right now. I'm selling in Massachusetts, and I was throwing stuff away in the dumpster. And I opened this box that said Matt's Keepsakes. You know how many times I've moved that box between houses? And I'm looking at it, and one of the picture frames was me on the sideline of the youth football team that I coached. I'm like, yeah, okay, great picture from like 20 years ago that hasn't been hung up in my house in like 12 years, probably maybe 15 years. Why am I keeping this? Why do I have all these things? Why do I have all these possessions that don't? And then I'm looking in the dumpster going, everything in that dumpster, that's an entire house in and of itself. Like I could have bought a house with stuff like we buy from Amazon, we buy these things.
Oh, it's true. Know? Very true.
And it's like, is that what matters? Or is the joy part of our life just so out there, we don't know what it is? And that's why when in that book, I talk a little bit about defining what your joy is. Maybe you like to water ski, maybe you like to snow ski, maybe you like to hike or hunt or fish, maybe you like to be a boater. I'm a big side-by-side ATV guy. Like that's my thing. And I want to enjoy more of that before I leave this planet.
Right.
And I'm probably halfway through. I don't think I'm living to 100. So I'm pretty much halfway through or over the halfway mark. So I might as well start doing it.
Yeah,
Why
man.
do I need to wait until so-called retirement age when I can't enjoy any of it?
I agree. I mean, things have changed so much. to have those concepts that were valid, at a time to which maybe there was some applicability, but no, everyone has to reevaluate where they're at, what they're doing, and kind of not use outdated norms to judge how they're going to live today and
Right,
in the
because
near future.
we can't care how other people judge us.
Right.
And we can't live our lives and run our businesses how we think other people think we need to live them and run them. And so at the end of the day, like I say, look, if you want to work 7 days a week, I'm okay with that, provided that's a choice that you make.
Right.
Not something your business is dictating to you. I want it to be a conscious choice. You have a reason by which you're working that much. I'm okay with that as long as you weren't forced into doing it and it's a choice. It's not the choice I would make, but it's not my business. It's your business.
No, it's true, man. So listen, as I really appreciate your insight and wisdom. And I think to the folks who are listening to this, I mean, what's great about bringing folks on like these, Matt is like so many of us, right? It's a matter of life experiences and learning from them, and then taking steps that into the unknown, and recognizing that if you could just hang in there, get mentors. I always talk to people about mentors, or utilizing resources like Matt's book, coaches, things like that to guide you through. That's where you'll begin to live in an empowered and enriched life. And I know in my space, the people I work with I want to try and help you to operate in a space where you're eliminating that overwhelm and that frustration that could be just so detrimental to your productivity, your happiness, and ultimately your success in life. And I would venture to say, for the most part, success is usually going to be defined by having some control and dominion over your time doing what you love. So that being said, Matt, if you could shout out one more time, give everybody your contact information, where the best number they can reach you. If you have anything that you would want to share with them, as incentives, whatever it is that you like to do, please feel free.
Absolutely. So there's a couple links, fireupreferrals.com is a download. You can go there and get a couple resources to fire up your referrals beginning today. And you just opt in with an email, and then you'll get my weekly referral tip that comes out on Tuesday afternoons. And I do a YouTube video and series for that every single week. I've been doing it for 2 years now. You can find me at mattwardspeaks.com. I'm on every social platform at mattwardspeaks. That's my handle. Email is the best way to reach me. And that's matt@breakthrough-champion.com. And I'm always available. It doesn't matter if I'm on a cruise ship or I'm riding my side-by-side ATV. I once answered the phone in the middle of the woods on my side-by-side inside my helmet, because I have it all connected up.
That's
so good. Yeah, it's a good time. I'm always available. I tell people all the time, leave a message, send me a text, or shoot me an email. If I don't get back to you right away, just wait, be patient. I'll get back to you. It might be on a plane or it might be on a stage. So yeah, it's been good. It's been good to be with you, Mike. I appreciate it. And as I tell everybody at the end of every video I ever do, don't forget to live happy, smile a lot, and high five.
All right, buddy. I love it. Awesome, man. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Matt, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Mike Caluzzi. Go, pro tips to grow your business. We appreciate you tuning in, and we will see you again soon. Ciao, everybody.